the tougher part must have been the psychology behind wrestling, right? Trying to figure that out.
Yeah, it was. But I do think, like I said, being a manager really helped because one, I was a new fan. So I was seeing this stuff like close up for the first time. And my husband's in there, my boyfriend at the time, and I'm like, oh my God, did that hurt? Like I'm freaking out, right? Like shit. I'm like trying to talk to him, like, are you okay? Are you okay? Like it was very real to me because it's not often you see that in in that way. Like an MMA fight is different. He had a pro boxing match, and like that was very different. Just because you're no selling everything in those sports. You cannot let your opponent know that you're hurt, that you're winded, that you're anything. So you're always acting like very very tough in those instances. So then you see wrestling, and then you see someone selling, and you're like, holy shit! Like I don't know if that's real or not. So it did draw me in that sense, and then figuring out what the story was, that was very much my area that I had something to offer. I think the two of us as a pair, because that storytelling is a little different than just a singles match, right? And then the communication on the outside of the ring. I think having a manager is so beneficial sometimes because you get to run things through someone. It's just like a very good ref. You get to use them as a benefit and addition to your match. So and then working at Shkar as well, like that, the psychology there was broken down a whole lot more than just fundamental wrestling per se. I think details were very important to me. I just didn't want to be like an athlete, like, oh, that girl does flippy stuff, right?
Hmm.
Like I wanted to be able to pay attention to small things in the match. I asked a whole lot of questions. We traveled a ton. I wanted to get um, outside influence from just people that had been different places and trained in a different style and had a different perspective, because I wanted all of them. I was like, give me all of the knowledge and then I'll decide what I want to use and take forward.
That's such a good attitude that you want, because it's easy to train, one way with
Yeah.
one person. And look, a lot of people are successful that way. So I'm certainly not casting any stones that way. But to get these different perspectives and be able to mix them in your game, and even if
Yeah.
it's not something you necessarily use for yourself, it's good to learn, okay, if this person works this way and I find someone else who works this way, now I know how to adapt to their style and what they like to do.
Right. You have more to offer your opponent, the match, the fans. No one really wants to watch me grapple, but that doesn't mean that I can't, that I don't have that in there. Most people want to see me go to the top rope or do something athletic because that's my wheelhouse. That's what I feel comfortable doing. And that's kind of where I've marketed my move set, right? The character. So, but it's good to train everything. Like my husband was, a mixed martial artist, and then he was doing lucha and doing like flippy things. And he was like, oh my God, this is great. Like he didn't want to do that. He wasn't really like, yeah, sure, I want to train lucha, but he did. And, that's just another layer. Like you said, if you're wrestling someone in that style, you're not a fish out of water.
Yeah, it makes everybody better, and I think that's a great attitude to have, and
Yeah.
probably a big reason why you've been so successful.
Well, thank you.